Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective. So coming off a long, wonderful weekend of football, both pro and college. Do want to take more of a serious note and talk about the BJ Foster situation. I'm going to get into all that and just really sharing my thoughts with you guys. First, do want to promote two things at the beginning of this video. Number one, Operation Rebuild Lake Charles. We are having a fundraiser on GoFundMe. We'll have a link below. Hurricane Laura devastated the Lake Charles area. Some people starting to get some electricity back, but many of our friends in Louisiana have been devastated by the hurricane. It's really, really terrible there, and looking to help however we can. Some of my friends that have been on this channel, Tyler, Billy, just looking to help them as much as we can in their community. Wade LeBlanc of the Baltimore Orioles, who's leading the charge. Help however you can, Operation Rebuild Lake Charles. Second thing is the Horns Illustrated Magazine app 2020 preview is out. Campbell's Williams Field is featured there, and Fanatic Perspective is in there in the pundit picks. So you can get access to the app, download the magazine. I'll have the link for that below. Check out Horns Illustrated. Love what those guys are doing over there. Fantastic edition, as they always do, year in, year out. So BJ, as many in Longhorn Nation found out, really this past weekend, we're coming off the high of, not beating UTEP per se, but looking good. Coming out, we're dominant. We look sharp. The offense is explosive. Defense is flying around. And then we get the news that BJ Foster left the team or walked off the field in the third quarter due to being upset over playing time. And hearing that news, I immediately got angry, as I'm sure many people in the fan base did. Angry because I have high expectations, not just for BJ Foster as a player, but as a young man, knowing the family and the town that he's from and the people he has in his life, honestly. And was angry because of him potentially squandering such an amazing opportunity for him, destroying his credibility as a football player and representing a university, and just hurting his future potentially over emotion. And so that was my initial just kind of reaction. Was I was upset, but I also wanted to be smart about it. I didn't rush to Twitter and start making a whole bunch of emotional posts like many in our fan base did. Often we will respond to emotional things with more emotion, and it becomes a mess, and we start to say things we regret or don't have all the facts and weren't fully informed. So I wanted to do my due diligence, and the final piece of that for me, before I really go through what I'm getting ready to go through right now, was hearing from the head coach, Tom Herman, and seeing how this thing would rectify. Because we got the report from Chip Brown later that he was in the weight room, but then some players were like, no, that wasn't the case, and he was back on the team. And, you started hearing a lot of kind of conflicting reports. And so we find out from the head coach, Tom Herman, that BJ did indeed walk off the field and presumably quit the team, and immediately was remorseful about it, apologized to the coaching staff. I believe at some point he's going to get in front of the team and do a formal apology, but is really on an apology tour and trying to get back in good graces. And Tom Herman said he'll be punished internally, and they'll move forward. It'll be water under the bridge after that, after he serves his punishment. That is according to the head coach as of today's press conference. Now, why did I want to wait for the press conference before I responded? Because this is a test not just for BJ, but also for the Texas coaching staff, Tom Herman, as well as Chris Ash, and I'll get to them later. But starting with BJ Foster, as somebody who's played football, obviously not at the level that these guys play at, but just been in sports athletics, watch sports, and the lessons, the life lessons we get from sports. Quitting is very, very difficult to even understand or condone. although we all quit something in our lives, nobody goes through every single thing. We've all done something we regret. But before I even get to that part, I was disappointed that BJ, the selfishness, because it was a selfish act. And regardless of whatever the expectation was about his playing time, what was communicated or not communicated from the coaching staff, in those moments, you have to put the team first. I don't have a problem with a player getting upset behind the scenes and coming to somebody's office and say, hey, coach, I've been busting my ass. I've been doing what you asked me to do. Why am I not getting playing time? Why am I not on the field? Why don't you trust me? Why am I not, I don't have a problem with players challenging coaches, challenging the authority. I think that helps build that relationship, quite frankly, and it allows the coaches to be transparent with a player or whoever. What happens where you lose me personally is when you throw all that out the window, get so emotional that you're not even thinking. Granted, you're upset. Football's an emotional game. It's the first game back. Get all those things. Can't quit on your team. Forget the coaches. And I'm talking to BJ right now. Forget the coaches. Your brothers are out there. They're fighting. And some of the things you don't consider when you get emotional is, even though whether you're playing or not, you could end up in a situation, even against UTEP, where a couple guys may go down out of the blue. We need somebody in there to finish the game. And now I'm looking around the sidelines, and you're not there to help your brothers out. That's unacceptable. And if somebody did that to you, from a standpoint of your backfield mate, your teammate, whoever, you would be pissed off. And so I understand at one point, and a lot of people, hey, quitting is a deal breaker for me. Quitting is a point of no return. I do understand that. But when we consider everything, A, that this football team has been through, B, the climate that we're in, and C, the kid himself, because I started this video with his family and the people that are in his circle and around him. And BJ has committed no infractions against the school. As a matter of fact, that's why I won't sully his name. I think you can be hard on a kid and be critical of a kid. What BJ did was selfish, stupid, and shows lack of maturity, in my opinion. But he deserves a second chance. And I believe the coaches have also realized this, and hopefully his teammates will too. Now, if his teammates, and that's why you have team captains, right? Team captains meet because they're supposed to have the pulse of the locker room. Those guys say, you know what? BJ's actually been tripping for a minute. He hasn't, some of the things even the coaches haven't seen. And that's another story. And they get together and say, you know what? It's better that we move on without him. Then I can respect the locker room speaking for their football team and protecting their space. But if this is something that is out of character for someone and they have a slip, because all it takes in society for any of us, whether you're in corporate America, whether you're in a relationship, all it takes is for one horrible decision to screw up your reputation. So now he is not just rebuilding, trying to get into good graces with the coaching staff, he's rebuilding his reputation. I mean, yes, he was a 5-star recruit coming in. You can forget the NFL stuff right now. Right now, BJ's just trying to rebuild him being a member of the football team, okay? And we've had guys on this roster and guys in the past who have committed horrible things or sins or made mistakes where they've had to rebuild, build their character back up, get back in good trust. We saw a young man this past Saturday who I'm hoping is going to be a wonderful redemption story in Joshua Moore, who made some mistakes off the field and hurt the team. When you see how talented he was and him not being available the last year, hurt the team. But they work with him. He gets that second chance. He maximizes on that second chance. And now we might have one of the breakout players in the Big 12 and on our team and moving forward. With that being said, BJ Foster is going to have to rebuild that trust. And if I'm a coach, if I'm a player, that's going to take time. Period. That's going to take time. That's not something to where, oh, he had a good couple weeks of practice and he's back out there for Texas Tech. No. I think that's something to where, kind of like Joshua Moore, there's a series of steps behind the scenes. And to make sure your mental's sharp and okay. Whether it's outbursts, we heard about the smaller car incident when somebody, what was it? Had the hit and run on his car when he was parked, and I believe they were at practice, and he punched his hand and injured himself. So making sure the mental stuff is cleaned up. But again, he hasn't had that moment off the field or period where I'm like, oh, I'm worried about BJ Foster until this past Saturday. The other thing too is the expectation. And what do I mean by that? When you look at Chris Ash and his coaching staff, I think I don't mind a player challenging where they stand and why, or whether or not they should be playing more or anything of those type of things. But I do think BJ needs to understand that perception matters. When Chris Ash came and took over, the first two names out of his mouth were Chris Brown and Josh Thompson. Chris Brown happens to play the same position as BJ Foster as of right now. Now, will BJ Foster ultimately have a future at linebacker or a different position? That remains to be seen. He has, again, trust is there as well, but he's in the position group that Chris Ash happens to coach. So they've got to work on that relationship. All these guys can't get mad and then go run to Todd Orlando at USC or something. They're not even playing football right now. So either you're going to have to man up or try to repair those relationships with the coaching staff. Now, as for the staff, when you have a player and an asset like a BJ Foster, they also have to take this into account, and I believe the fans need to do this as well. It's okay to bash the act, but I don't think it's okay – it's not okay to bash the kid and say he's a bad person or start the name calling and reducing him as a man, because we also need to care about these people as human beings. It's part of the problem we have going on in the sports landscape right now. We see the nonsense going on with Skip Bayless. We look at a lot of these fans and prognosticators out here look at these guys as a helmet, a number, and a body. BJ Foster is not that. He is somebody's son. He is a young man, and these are lessons. This is a whole thing of learning how to deal with adversity in his personal life and his professional life that will help him years and years down the road when football is behind him, because stuff like this happens all the time, whether it's not getting picked for a promotion or getting assigned to a project you don't want to do, or even dealing in your personal relationships. These are all issues of adversity you're going to have to face. That this is a great now learning opportunity for BJ Foster to overcome, learn from, and be a good example moving forward. So don't dismiss the kid. Stop the name calling. And that's where love and embrace, and that's why I'm proud of this coaching staff for saying it is going to be water under the bridge. Now we know, yeah, he's going to have to regain our trust. And as a coach, I would probably consider sitting him down for the rest of the season, especially in a season where we don't lose eligibility anyway, and say, look, similar to Josh Moore thing, you go through a series of steps to rebuild our trust. You continue to work hard, show off. It's a meritocracy. You will be on the field when called upon, when you prove to us that you can be trusted and you won't leave us in the realm of battle again. I think that's fair. Now, how realistic that is, we probably will see him later on in the season, especially with COVID injuries, things of that sort. But he has to prove that trust. But when you look at the expectations and whatnot, I just want to continue to echo, this is a great learning opportunity for BJ Foster. And these kids are human beings. He's not a terrible person. He's, by all accounts, a really good kid that made a horrible mistake and got emotional. We've all done it, okay? Now, we all haven't quit. I'm not saying that in terms of on team or other people. Some of you watching this channel have quit. and probably regret that. And probably have a personal story where you wish you could go back in time and tell your younger self, don't do that. So all these things are just running through my mind because it is something that is serious, but from a standpoint of him, but for the greater team and whatnot, we can't let things like this pop up to distract us. Because in my opinion, with the way this season's shaping out and the way the Big 12 look, the only thing that can stop Texas is Texas. It's only us that can get in our own way. And the coaches need to also take the time and say, look, those of you who aren't playing, let's be real with kids. Don't gas up a kid's head all week and tell him he's going to do this, this, and this, and use him in this package, and then the game comes and you act like you don't know who he is. That's not right either. Now, there's that elicit the kid being triggered to quit during the middle of the game? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm not saying the coaches are in the wrong, but what I am saying is expectations need to be set. I think it is fair for Chris Ash to say, here's why I like Chris Brown. Here's why he's playing in front of you. Here's what you can do to win some snaps back, right? And just being real about it. Hey, here's what we need to see from you from a coverage standpoint. Here's what we need to see from you taking better angles and walking through that in the film room. I'm not saying the coaches aren't doing that, but clearly there was a communication gap there as the game was playing out. So, just things we can get cleaned up. But I know, especially knowing BJ's mom and they're proud people, they're good people, they're people that have represented the Texas community well. When you look at the folks from Angleton, like Jammer and Quandre Diggs, these are all lifetime Longhorns that are in BJ's circle that can help him through these situations. So as a fan base, it's like, hey, man, you deserve a second opportunity. Now, after that, what you decide to do with it is on you, right? It's on you. And I know Tom Herman, Chris Ash, big test for them. So, that's how they're probably looking at it as well. Now, I will say we saw a young man before, it was Chris Boyd, tweeted during halftime of the TCU game. And that was, when we were just so low as a program. But he bounced back and had a very good career here at Texas, an NFL player now. So you can come back from emotional moments and stupid moments like that. And that was Chris Boyd as a freshman. But the last thing I'll say is this: for the folks that don't think that BJ is willing to lay it on the line, I think part of BJ's frustration as well, just to add the other side of this, he played so hurt last year. His shoulder was about to fall off. He was out there every week to the point where he's putting out some bad tape because he's so injured, but he wants to be on the field and he's giving it everything he has, where a lot of other kids, I'll be honest with you, most kids 20 years old either would have sat down, had a surgery, whatever. They wouldn't have put themselves out there, but he did. And so does that mean he's entitled to snaps under the new coaching staff? No. But does he feel, because he comes off to me as somebody who's, from a loyalty standpoint, he felt like he was at least owed something for his efforts. And when the new staff is here and they kind of move on and he feels forgotten about despite what he's laid on the line for the school, it's sad. But from a bigger picture, and the brother has to think on a higher level, all the work y'all did in this offseason, not just football-wise, but also to better our school, better our university for everyone, in order to be a part of that, in order for the legacy to move forward, you can't quit. You have to stay with your guys. And I'm sure there's some guys in the locker room that may never forgive BJ for this. But like I said, with the team captains, guys stepping up and saying, hey, we want you here because we love you, but don't quit on us again, brother. I think that's probably the tenor of most of the guys there, at least from what I'm hearing. So, BJ, hope, sounds like you're going to get a second chance. Just take advantage of it and learn from this, man. Turn this negative into a positive. That's what life is about. You're a young man, but you're a man. And part of being a man is learning how to deal with adversity and, knowing and just rely on the folks around you, those people that are in your corner no matter what. And this is also a time when you're at rock bottom, you'll notice people that give up on you and people that rally around you and try to pick you up, help you up, right? So, guys, that's what I have. I know y'all will chime in with your comments on this hot button topic, the Longhorn Nation. But right now we're 1-0. Right now we are very, very excited about where we're heading into conference play against Texas Tech. I'll announce we are doing the live chat tomorrow night, so we'll have the opportunity to talk more about all this stuff, injury updates, and just how we feel heading into Big 12 play. But tomorrow night, I'm looking forward to chatting with y'all. But yeah, let me know how you feel about all this. It's heavy, but I just wanted to make sure I had all my ducks in a row before speaking on topics such as this. So appreciate y'all. Horns always up.